to the Conservative College Show. My name is Derek Smith, and today we're going to be talking about one of the largest issues within the LGBTQ, and that is transgenderism within women's sports. Again, welcome back. Today we're going to be reacting to this video of a trans woman who competes as a cyclist and is also a trans right activist named Veronica Ivy. Veronica is became the first trans world cycling champ. So we have 3 or 4 different points we're going to talk about in the video today. Let's watch this first point and let's see.
Protecting the fragile, weak, cis white woman from the rest of us.
Wow, okay, so the point that was just made was that the conservative ideology and the conservative, goal is to protect women from the rest of us, in quote, is what Veronica said there. The rest of us being referred to as trans women or men who are portraying to be women in order to participate in women's sports at the Olympic, elite, and just every level possible. So this is actually very, very true. Actually, so it's kind of funny that somebody who is trans would say that, because it's exactly what our goal is to do. Our goal is to protect women and the right that they have to participate in a sport, in order to come out on top, is to protect them, right? That's our whole goal, to protect them, keep them in the sport that they're supposed to be in, and keep people who are not supposed to be in the sport, and keep those people out. So, yeah, of course. Let's go take a look at this second point.
For trans women in women's sport, it's not an unfair advantage. But also, we've been trying to compete at the highest level for decades. We've been allowed to compete for decades. And no one has won an elite world championship. No one has won an Olympic gold medal. This Tokyo Olympics was the first time trans women even qualified for the Olympics. Mm-hmm. So this idea that trans women are suddenly going to take over women's sport is an irrational fear of trans women, which is the dictionary definition of transphobia.
So it's interesting that you say that.
So the decade upon decade, participation by trans women at the elite level is incorrect. And Veronica says, well, we've been participating, or we've been competing or trying to compete at the elite level for so long. Well, the elite level is such a hard, place to know where what are we talking about, right? So, for example, we're talking about the Olympics. Well, this isn't actually true, because when you look at the Olympics and you look at who the first trans woman was to compete in the Olympics, that wasn't until the 2020 Olympics, right? That wasn't until we saw Laurel Hubbard compete in the women's division of the Olympics in weightlifting, right? And we saw that, and Hubbard did not do well at all, right? We know Hubbard didn't do great, and if we actually look, we see that Hubbard did not perform well at the Olympics at all, right? Failing to register a single successful lift in the women's plus 87 kilogram weightlifting competition. And that's how he was eliminated. We know this is a man portraying to be a woman. And not only that, when we look at previous records of Hubbard, we see that one of the only real records that was ever, made by Hubbard was in New Zealand. It was a junior record in 1998 in a newly established division, right? And this was in 2 lifts. So when you have a newly established division, yeah, you're going to have somebody that's going to set a record for that, and there's a possibility that that's good for them and it leads them somewhere, or that it doesn't. And we see that Hubbard really has never went anywhere else except for that, and that record was later beaten. But and then we see Hubbard quits weightlifting in 2001, so that's 4 years after. We see that Hubbard quits weightlifting in 2001. 2013, Hubbard comes out as trans, and then 13 to 17, Hubbard makes the transition, and 17 continues the sports journey. Well, you can't take a break from 2001 to 2017 and expect to come and participate in the next Olympics, right? The next Olympics that you qualified already. How are we going to take a 16-year gap and still qualify for the Olympics? Because you're competing with women as a man. That's easily known. We can see that now, that that a man competed with women and still did not do great. Let's continue to the next point that I have.
So it's an extreme indignity to say, I believe you're a woman, except for sport, right? So you can't single out one of the most important facets of our society. We are obsessed with sport. Athletes are some of the most highly praised, highly paid people on the planet.
Definitely.
So the statement here is that people are telling trans people, trans women, that hey, you're a woman, but you can't compete in the women's sports, right? I don't know anyone who's personally saying, hey, you are a woman, but you can't compete in women's sports. No one's pulling stuff from both sides and saying that, right? You've got the right who is saying, hey, you are a man portraying to be a woman, and you therefore cannot compete in the women's category of Olympic and elite sports. And you've got the left who are saying, well, you are a woman, and we're going to make sure that you feel comfortable by putting you in women's sports. No one is cherry picking these things and saying, well, you are this and you can't do this, but we'll find somewhere for you. No. And then another thing that Veronica said was that athletes they love sport. That's what they are. Okay, that's fine. But there's a place for you in the right category, and that's in the man's category. I mean, you can say that you want to be a woman all day, but we know you're a man. It's just that's how biology works. Let's go and take a look at the last point I had, and then we'll discuss it.
So I want to share something shocking with everybody. It wasn't until 5 years ago that we actually studied the relationship between natural testosterone and performance, and we found that there is no relationship whatsoever between unaltered, natural, endogenous testosterone and sport performance. About 0.5% of elite male track and field athletes at the world championship level are below the women's average of testosterone, competing with men with 80 to 100 times as much testosterone at no competitive disadvantage. And that fact has not been picked up by the broader media landscape. So when you say I'm a woman and I have this much testosterone, well, first there's a huge range within women.
Definitely.
Into the male range. And there is no relationship between her having a competitive advantage over women with lower testosterone. So there are elite cis men with low testosterone, lower than a given woman, who's out competing her. So our bodies and biology is not this simple. We thought it was, and it isn't. So we know that when you add testosterone to your natural levels, like doping, you tend to get bigger, stronger, faster. We also know that when you drop your testosterone levels, like trans women tend to do, you tend to get slower. But what your natural level is has no relationship to your sport performance. And we've been singling out that factor, testosterone, against the scientific evidence.
But I'm a little...
Okay, so let's kind of talk about the statements that were just stated about how natural testosterone does not affect the performance and has no correlation with performance in sports. That is a very, very incorrect statement. And to say that natural testosterone doesn't affect performances, that's idiotic. And the reason why is because, first off, let's just say it's not testosterone. Let's say that it's the size difference in men and women within a sport, right? If you've got an Olympic male weightlifter and an Olympic female weightlifter, there's a great possibility that the man's going to be bigger. I mean, that's genetics, right? So to say that testosterone is not, and we know testosterone has a big deal in it, but to say that it doesn't it's just stupid. It's dumb. And it's ignorant, right? But okay, let's just take out testosterone. Let's just look at male female, right? In 1998, we're going to look at the Battle of the Sexes, the tennis matches. In 1998, you have Karsten Brash versus the Williams sisters. So Serena and Venus Williams called out, no one specific, but their statement was that they could beat anyone above the 200th place in the world rankings. So the 203rd ranked world ranked male tennis player at the time, his name's Karsten Brash, basically said, okay, I'll face you guys. Well, he played Serena and led 5-0 and then beat Serena 6-1. Then he played Venus and he beat her 6-2. So, and not only that, in a post game interview, he said, I played like I was a 600th place player. Like, I wanted to have some fun with it. And he beat them both. I mean, at times, Serena has been the number one tennis player. I'm not sure about now, but she was the number one female tennis player, right? So, and that's 98. So let's go and take a look at 2003. We have Yannick Noah, the male, and Justin Henin, the female. Yannick is at the time 43, and Justine is 21. So Yannick Noah shows up in a dress, and he kind of is like playing with the audience, and then he starts playing with, he just starts doing trick shots and things like that, basically to have fun with it, and he beat her. He beat her. He beat her 2 of the 3 matches they played. That's one instance. 2023, which is the most recent instance, we have Mira Andreeva versus Giannis Durand, and Durand is stepping in for another tennis player because of some other issues. And so Giannis plays Mira. I mean, and he beats her. He beats her in straight sets. Yes, she takes home the trophy. Which, okay, whatever. But it's the fact that men beat women. Now we can look at 2013 when we have Djokovic versus Li Na. So Novak Djokovic, who is currently the number one player in the world, male player in the world, plays against Li Na in the 10th commemoration of 10th anniversary of the China Open. And basically, you can kind of see he's holding back, and even at one moment he swaps positions with the ball boy, and I mean he just is playing around. Well, every game he gives her a 30-0 advantage at the start of each game, and she went on to win the set 3-2, but did not dominate, right? And this at the time is a very, very well player, and right now she's number 5. So, I mean, this isn't just some sort of oh wow instance. And then we talk about testosterone. The National Institutes of Health put out an article saying that there is a clear sex difference in both muscle mass and strength, and even adjusting for sex differences in height and weight. On average, women have percentages less of each muscle strength and just muscle mass than men do. And not only that, age grade competitive sports records show minimal or no female disadvantage prior to puberty. So we're talking about post puberty here, right? So we see that male athletic performances go from being an equal on average to those aged male female to 10% 10 to 12% better in running and swimming, and 20% better in jumping events. Men are performing better than women in these sports. You can't put a man with a woman in the same sport because it's unfair and it is a disadvantage. No matter if a man's taking hormones to become more feminine, it doesn't affect the performance enough for it not to be a disadvantage. Well, folks, that's all I have for you today. If you like this video, feel free to like and subscribe. If you want to hear more about this topic or other topics in the future, feel free to comment that below. Also, you can turn on that post notification bell to get alerted when I post a new video. That's all I have for you guys. God bless, and I'll see you in the next one.